everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live here on this Tuesday evening, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. I've got some college football thoughts coming up here in a few minutes. I'm also going to talk some wrestling coming up here in a few minutes. Good evening, Kevron. Glad to have you here as always. But first, I want to start in the NASCAR world. This past Sunday, we had the Fire Keepers Casino 400 from Michigan. Hey there, Haley. Glad to have you back here on this Tuesday evening. Denny Hamlin came home with the win. It's his third win of the season, so he ties Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson for the most wins this year. He didn't get the lead until 4 laps to go, so it's not like he dominated. He didn't, but hey, he won the race. Chris Buescher comes home second. Ty Gibbs, Darrell Wallace Jr., Kyle Larson rounding out the top 5. Then we have Ross Chastain, Zane Smith, Kyle Busch, Ryan Preece, and Brad Keselowski rounding out the top 10. This Sunday, NASCAR Cup, Mexico City at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez Raceway. That'll be Sunday afternoon, first time in the modern era that there'll be a points race in Mexico or any other country for that matter. So Denny Hamlin now tied with 2 other drivers for the most wins this season. My man Kyle Busch qualified second, so his car is slowly finding speed. He's actually 16th right now, so he would be the last driver to make the playoffs if the playoffs started right now, but he has not won a race yet. So to make me feel better, he needs to get a win, but it is good to see him running a little more consistent than last year, because last year he won 3 races in the first half of the season and then did nothing the rest of the season. This year he hasn't won yet. He hasn't been close to winning yet, but he's at least qualifying better and running up front more often. So maybe the team is slowly finding some speed. This Saturday I'll be back at 244 Livestock Road, East Denali, Georgia for SWA Wrestling. This is our last stop before Resurrection, which comes up July the 12th. That's our next big show. This Saturday, already announced, is Billy Starr versus Logan Bloom in a street fight. Brant Hudson versus Seth Stevens. Bad Jack versus Dexter. Eric Riker versus Jimmy Lee. Richard Ramos versus Eric Thunder, and just announced Jackson Carter versus Cade Powers. So already those 6 matches have been announced, and there's about 12 guys that have not been announced yet as far as what match they'll be in. That will be there. So I'm sure, as always, we'll have 8 or 9 matches. So come on out and be with us. If you're anywhere in North Georgia, Northeast Georgia, or the upstate of South Carolina, it's not very far drive to 244 Livestock Road, East Denali, Georgia. Tickets are $5. Doors open at 6 o'clock, and bail time is 7 o'clock. Then I want to wrap up tonight's video with a little bit of college football talk. Not much, just more of what we know is coming. That is the new rule now. Hey there, the Baron. Glad to have you here. We all know it's coming, but it just continues to be a downward spiral until they find a way to end this. But they've now pretty much told each school that they have about $20.5 million to spend on athletics, and they came up with that number, claiming that's about a fifth of what schools make annually. So that way you're not spending all your money on athletics. But it's $20.5 million, and of course, all the schools have said that right around 85 to 86% of the money they spend of that $20.5 million is going to be, of course, on college football and college basketball. Now, IPFW, which is Indiana, Purdue, Fort Worth, they've already shut down college baseball and college softball. Now you're going to see more of that. I wasn't surprised with softball because there's no money in college softball. Most schools that have it, the tickets are free, so there's no way the school makes any money on softball. But a lot of the upper echelon programs make some money in baseball, but not much. But most of the money in college athletics is on football and basketball. So you can spend all that money on those two sports, and you can shut down every other sport and just have your school have football and basketball, or you can dish it out a little bit. But you're going to see more and more schools start shutting down lacrosse and rowing, volleyball, and maybe some schools wrestling, soccer, all the sports that basically you're not making any money off of. Because even though obviously you're not going to pay those players what you would pay a basketball and a football player, if you shut it down, you ain't got to pay them a dime. But I hate it for the, players in those sports because, 95% of them aren't going to ever play in the major leagues, if there's even a major league sport for it. Some sports there's not a major league sport, but if there is, most of them aren't good enough to play that. So you have aspirations of finishing high school and going to college and playing soccer, or going to college and playing volleyball, or being on the rowing team. But then all of a sudden, all these schools start shutting that down. What are you going to do? Is high school the end of your, basic athletic career? Or, can you play another sport? Some players can, some can't. But now they're saying that starting, I believe it's next year, if a team is played on a video game, because they somehow have data to find out who's playing these video games and what team they're using. And basically, if you have a college game, I'm sure it's mainly college football, and let's say you pick the Florida Gators. Well, the Florida Gators get a little bit of money from you playing them on that game. So now we're going back to the name, image, likeness thing, which is supposed to be what this whole thing was to begin with. So I'm sure at some point in time there'll be a happy medium between what they're making now and the name, image, likeness thing. But until we get there, it's a crying shame this has happened. But it's more of a crying shame that people are surprised that this happened. When you involve money and you don't put parameters on it, you don't put rules on it, this is what happens. So why anybody's surprised by it, I have no idea. I'll never understand. Hey there, 310. Glad to have you here on this Tuesday evening. And the Baron and 310 Man, I believe it's the first time I've seen y'all's names in the comment section. So thank y'all for being here. Please give the video a thumbs up and a like. If you have not subscribed, please do so. And share the video on all social media platforms, and tell your friends and tell your family all about the channel. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. The one thing I'm still not sure about is they're claiming that each school is going to get basically $20.5 million. But then starting next year, you're going to get a certain amount of money from these video games where they're, people are picking a certain team or a certain player. Is that added to that 20.5 million, or are the coaches gonna pay these players out of pocket for being on that game, or who pays that? Because if you're giving 20.5 million straight up, but then say 5,000 people, pick you on a video game, is that then added to that pot, or does that come from a separate pot, or where does that come from? That I still ain't clear on where that comes from. But the rest of it is you just get $20.5 million and you just dish it out ever how you want to. Once it's gone, it's gone. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. But let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. If you're in prison, always be nice to the guards. My motto, never let your guard down. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much